Hello, I'm Monsignor Charles Minot. To be the star of a hit show is the dream of every actor or actress. That dream came true for a local actress whom we will meet tonight on this segment of Reel to Reel. You may remember a couple of weeks ago we met Dr. Janet Kay, who offered counseling to cancer patients. Well, tonight we'll meet a Jesuit priest who also deals with cancer patients, only his patients are fish. Dr. George Ruggieri is the director of the Osborne Laboratories at the New York Aquarium. Our People and Places segment features a visit to the Francis Gallagher Center in Baltimore, where mentally retarded children strive to develop themselves to their fullest. In our Around the Delaware Valley segment, we'll honor the work of a religious group of women, the Missionary Servants of the Blessed Trinity. The recent controversy of the exploitation by her mother of the child star Brooke Shields is one way of showing a parent's involvement in a child's career. Another way is the Lombardis, the parents of Mary Kay. Mary Kay was the star of the road show Annie. She is now back home with her friends and her normal life in a grade school here in the diocese.
It's really fun, see, because you get to stay up later and, you know, I get to sleep later and we have a tutor and it's exciting and it's just great because everybody in the show is really nice to me and it made it easier to work with them. And we were just like one big happy family, you know, everybody in the cast. For instance, in Chicago, we stayed there for 7.5 months. So we stayed in a hotel and they made one of the big rooms into an apartment for us. They put in a kitchen for us and everything. And so we really settled in because it was 7 months there. When I was in the show, I got up to about either 11:30 or 12. And if we had a matinee, I would leave about 1 and the show would start at 2. And if it was on a Sunday, I would leave at 2 and the show would start at 3. And if it's a night show, we would leave at about 7 and the show would start at 8 and it would be over about 10:30. And we get home about 11, and then I usually go play Space Invaders or something, you know. And then we go home, watch TV for a while, and then have a snack and go to bed. Well, one time, Miss Hannigan was going to hit me with the paddle, and it broke right in half. So, you know, there's only no way she could hit me. And another time, my girlfriend Melanie from the show, she was one of the orphans, her sock got caught to my bucket. And we were trying to do Hard Knock Life, and we were running all over the stage trying to get away from each other, and we were laughing so hard we couldn't even sing. It was really funny. And then the other time, the orphans were doing the song Smile, and they were kicking their legs real high, and one of them, her shoe went right in the audience. And there, like other times when the brushes from Hard Knock Life that they brushed the floor with fell right in the orchestra pit and stuff like that. Funny things like that happened. It's exciting because I always think about the show and I always really think about the character Annie, like I'm really Annie. And when the audience claps and everything, I don't think there's any way you could get tired of it because like they keep you alive even if you're not feeling good or something, they always keep you alive. Before I came into the show, my parents had told me how hard it was going to be, but I still really wanted to do it and I'm really glad I did it now. I'm really glad. That's one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life, being Annie. I met Phil Donahue.
Did you?
And I met Dr. Bellows, Hayden Rourke from My Dream of Jeannie. And I met Major Healy from My Dream of Jeannie. And I almost met I Dream of Jeannie, but I got her autograph. And I met Mickey Rooney and Ann Miller and Doug Henning and Rock Hudson.
Among the local celebrities Mary has met was Pete Rose. Mary is an avid Phillies fan and is often seen wearing her Phillies cap. She was really thrilled when Pete autographed her hat for her.
On our opening night in Chicago at the Schubert Theater, my dad gave me a ring. It's an Annie ring, and that was exciting.
Well, the Annie ring, one of the trips I made to Chicago, in the hotel where they were staying, there was a jewelry shop that specialized in making jewelry. You could go in with any kind of an idea, and they would make it for you. And I got the idea of the Annie head and went in and had them make it, and I gave it to her. And that seems to be one of the things she treasures.
Was it your secret, or did you share it with Bert, too?
Oh, no, Bert was in on it, too. Between the two of us, we had it made.
I love it.
I got most of the credit, though.
Enjoy it.
I constantly told Mary that when this was all over, she'd be going back to school, back out in the driveway with the kids, back to her old self again, and it was just a great experience. And then I prayed to St. Anne every night that Mary would stay the same as she was before she went into the show. And on her very last show, several people in the cast came up to me and said they loved her so much because she was exactly as she was the day she walked into the show. And that made me feel like my prayers were answered, and they really meant it. They were sincere. So, and she's the same. She hasn't changed. Good. And I'm so proud of her. I just think it's great, and hope she does more if she wants to.
Same people that are still coming here, that I'm talking about her girlfriends, are the same girlfriends that were coming here before she went away, and everything seems to have gone back to just the way it was before she left. Just about the same.
One of Mary's former teachers and now close friend, Mary Mackenzie, sees very little change in the Star of Annie and the students she knew at St. Martin's School.
When I was first informed that Mary was going to be in my classroom in first grade, I was told that she was involved in making commercials and going to New York a few days a week if necessary. And my initial reaction was, this child's going to be spoiled and really affected by that. And she came in and really surprised me because she was not at all. As a matter of fact, the other children in the classroom had no idea that she did this kind of work. And I think it was probably the second semester of school before they saw her on television. And a few of them came in and said, I thought I saw you on something. And she never told them, and I never told them. And that's just how that was reacted. Most people, when they found out that Mary was involved in this kind of thing, would come in to see, who is she, which one is she? And they would immediately be happy with the fact that Mary was like, you came to see me, and her manners really had them. She was very mannerly and just kind of matter of fact about anybody can do this. You know, anyone can go to New York and make a commercial. And that's how her family, I think, really drilled that into her, that this was just something that anyone can do. And she had the opportunity to do it. Probably the most important thing is that her family has kept her in perspective. She does not think that she is anything special. She has a lot of self-discipline, and I attribute some of that because she attends Catholic school, and she is used to being disciplined. She's disciplined at home a great deal, and because of that, she has learned a lot of self-discipline.
Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just stick out my chin and grin and say, oh, the sun'll come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may, tomorrow, tomorrow, I love you, tomorrow, you're always a day away. Tomorrow, tomorrow, I love you, tomorrow, you're always a day
Mary Kay is definitely a star in more than the generally accepted term, and her brightness will surely lead her to starring roles on the stage and in life. Tonight, we'd like to introduce a new theme to our Around the Delaware Valley segment. This feature we'd like to bring you from time to time. And what we shall be trying to do is to applaud and praise those groups or people who really should be singled out for our appreciation. We hope you join us as we express our thanks and good wishes to the missionary servants of the Blessed Trinity. They started as lay missionaries under the leadership of a Vincentian priest, Father Thomas Judge, in the years just prior to World War I, working in the cotton fields and backwoods of the South. That first group of volunteers was joined by others, and within a few years, two religious communities evolved, one of men, one of women. The women, under Father Judge and Mother Boniface Casey, became the missionary servants of the Most Blessed Trinity, a community of sisters devoted to social work, religious education, nursing, and parish ministry. As a symbol of their commitment to a religious community, each sister wears a pin representing the Trinity. Alabama was their base of operation until 1930, when a fire destroyed their mother house there. At the invitation, almost insistence, of Cardinal Doherty, the community relocated in Philadelphia in 1931.
In the request of the Church for the renewal of religious communities, we have established our goals as the missionary servants of the Blessed Trinity, particularly as the preservation of the faith of those who are abandoned and who are spiritually neglected. Another particular goal is the development of the laity. Oftentimes, our sisters would work with the senior citizens, such as Sister Zita has been doing. There you might see the aged population in the States today as being abandoned, being spiritually neglected, being broken in some way through their family life. And it's oftentimes where our sisters can be amongst those people, to be one of them, to celebrate with them, to sing with them. Currently, Sister Lourdes Teresa is in Catholic Social Services Agency, but particularly doing the work with the refugees, the new immigrants, so that we try to work with them to provide the basic needs of housing, food, work, but on top of that, to be certain that there is a follow-through with the preservation of their faith.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Sister Rosemary Jefferson in her parish at St. Stephen's, she is trying to work with the adult population so that they too, in turn, will be strengthened and go and be missionaries to the new immigrants, to the new people in the parish, so that they will be welcoming them to the church community. So that is really what the sister missionary is doing in such places as Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Pensacola, Florida, the backwoods of Mississippi, always to encourage and develop the Christian faith so that they in turn can be missionaries to others. Every Catholic should be a missionary.
Here we go. Where are you going to go, Stacy? To where? Is that the church?
Yeah.
Yes.
Father Raymond Chase has spent 12 years working with the retarded. At Gallagher Center in Baltimore, his mission is to the 50 little ones who live there. Right now, he's taking Stacy, Ronald, and Michelle to meet God in a very special chapel designed to meet their special needs.
When we set about trying to design a chapel that would really be appropriate for the profoundly retarded child, we were very much concerned that it would speak to them at their level. So we tried to focus in on multi-sensory so that we could involve sight and sound and taste and smell and touch, so that at every place where that child was open to religious experience, we would be able to be there and to impact the child.
Sister Stefana Toomey, a Dominican artist, designed this unique worship space at Gallagher Center.
As much as possible, I try to keep reflecting God's masterpiece, nature. You'll notice that the color, the textures, all of the other forms have been chosen as carefully as possible so that the child will feel free to touch and feel.
This is Todd, and with the help of Father Chase, he's discovering the tree of life that holds God's great book, the Bible.
And the most special sign is for God's great book. You know how you make that one?
In a year or so, the children will have another object that will teach them about God. It's called the seat of Jesus, and it's a chair of sorts, a life-size statue of Jesus that will permit them to sit on its lap. At present, it's still a block of maple awaiting Sister Stephana's carving. But someday, it too will grace this chapel, and like the holy font and the tree of life, it will lead the little ones who worship here closer to the God they seek in their own special way.
I've got a fish story for you. Well, it's not about the one that got away, but it's about the ones that didn't get away, and they wound up in the aquarium in New York City, and there they're looked after and cared for by a Jesuit priest.
Sea life has always fascinated humankind. For many, it has provided a livelihood. Normally, this means fishing. But for others, the study of the sea and its creatures is a career choice. George Ruggieri is one of the latter. But there's an interesting twist here. It's Father George Ruggieri. He's a Jesuit priest, as well as the director of the Osborne Laboratories of Marine Science and the New York Aquarium. For him, religion and science and all life are bound together. It is for this reason that he rejects a passage in Genesis, which gives humans dominion over all animals, for another biblical passage.
I prefer to point to this second account of creation in the book of Genesis, where God says to man that he is the steward. And as you know, the stewardship shows a relationship to the thing that one is a steward of, more than a relationship, actually a love relationship. So that the master concept is taken away, and there is a more harmonious relationship between man and every other living thing, and I think that's important.
It's all important to Father George, and that is probably why the Osborne Laboratories of Marine Sciences are unique in this country. In 1967, Father George took over as director, and with his leadership, important research has been done. Now there's even an electron microscope that takes three-dimensional pictures and keeps detailed records for the marine scientists.
We wanted to incorporate areas of research that would be unique to us, and that is indeed what we did. And what we did was we built on strengths that we already had, namely the New York Aquarium has published more on fish diseases than any other aquarium in the world. So one of our very important laboratories is a study of diseases of fishes.
It's not just diseases of fish that are being studied here. Research that may dramatically affect human beings is going on too. These scientists are studying the genetic structure of fish, which is similar in some ways to that of humans. Also, there are potential uses of sea life for antibiotics and medicines to fight viruses and cancer. Of course, how fish can become an even greater protein source is not being overlooked here either.
In a very real sense, many of our fish are what would be like identical twins on the human level. And of course, an interesting study with identical twins, no matter what kind of animals they are, is to place them under two different environments. And then whatever differences you see in the behavior of those creatures, you know is due to the environment, because the genes are the same.
Because there are similarities in the biological functions of fish and humans, cancer is one disease that is being studied. Look in this tank. The fish with the black spots are the ones who have a spreading cancer.
One of the things we've shown in these fish is that they are susceptible to a certain kind of cancer, namely pigment cell cancer, melanomas. Melanomas occur in humans. And if you look at the melanoma in the human under the microscope and look at the melanoma from this fish under the microscope, they look exactly the same. In the fish, we've shown that this cancer is inherited. Not only that, we've shown that the gene that is responsible for the cancer is located on the sex chromosome. So now we can take a male fish and a female fish, neither one of whom shows the cancer, but both of whom we know have the gene for it. We can mate them and predict with 100% accuracy that the babies are going to come down with the cancer. Now, these fish give birth to live young. So in the live young, we could say in this particular fish, the cancer is going to appear in a certain part of the body. We could actually remove that before it expresses itself, transplant it to another fish with which it's histocompatible, and then that fish will come down with the cancer. So we've worked this cancer out extremely well in this fish.
Serious business is going on in the Osborne Laboratories of Marine Sciences. But there's a flip side, which is outside. The Coney Island Amusement Park is alive with activity and fun, and so is the New York Aquarium. This is the other part of Father George's work and ministry. Yes, while some have been pioneers in the air, Father George is definitely a pioneer of the sea.
I designed a new shark tank and opened it last spring, and I wanted to try to do something different. What I have in the shark tank is I have 3 viewing stations for the public. The center one is the typical head-on view, a straight 16-foot panel. And then on either side, what I did was I tilted the viewing panel. So I feel that what we've done with this exhibit is we've given the people, the visitor, an appreciation of sharks in their various modes.
The sea environment is even more important for the creatures themselves. If they're not comfortable, they won't reproduce. But here, everything seems to be thriving.
I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade.
St. Ignatius once made the statement that when he used to walk out at night and gaze at the stars, he used to marvel at the beauty of the heavens and then saw himself and man in relationship to that, and how, in a very real sense, how we're just one small part of everything that's beautiful. And in a very real sense, I think I get that same sort of feeling with regard to the sea and the creatures in the sea.
Dr. Doolittle isn't the only person to walk with the animals and talk with the animals. Amy Lou and her mate, two beluga whales, know that and seem to sing their song just for Father George. The sound comes out from the melon on the top of their heads as they sing the same song all whales sing. It's a song that changes every year.
Good night. Good night.
But one thing here doesn't change: the mutual admiration and love between Father George Ruggieri and his sea creature friends.
Thanksgiving is a time for family, for turkey, for parades, for visiting friends, and recalling of all things the great history and tradition we have in our country of how we are grateful to God. For of all the things our ancestors have provided for us, it's an awareness that we are a God-resourceful people. We thank God for our families and our friends, and we hope we enjoy the great blessings He provides you with them. Next week, we'll meet an exceptional family from New Jersey, and we'll also visit the campus of the University of Notre Dame and meet the man touted as the next Newt Rockne, Jerry Faust. Our DABAR segment will feature Pat Livingston on success and failure, and Peoples and Places take us to a unique community restaurant in Englewood, Colorado. As always, it's so good to be with you. And want to thank you as we thank one another for God's gift to us. And as we thank you, ask you to keep us in your prayers as we do keep you in ours. It's nice to see you and be with you. Goodbye, and God bless you.